Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to our guests here today, I'd like to remind everyone that if you enjoy this content, to please give a like and subscribe down below. We greatly appreciate it. We have Delaney Smallwood here on the podcast with us. You can follow her on Instagram at D_musclebabe. She's a figure competitor all the way from St. Louis, but most importantly, she's our next guest on the show. Delaney, how are you doing?
I'm fabulous. How about you?
I am doing great. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what got you into that healthy and fit lifestyle? Was there an inspiration or what's the backstory?
Well, I've always been an athlete my whole life. Just always in sports, stuff like that in high school. I ended up going to LSU, Louisiana State University. And I ended up finding powerlifting there, fell in love with it, fell in love with the results of it, and decided I want to go in my career about learning more about lifting weights and how that affects your body, and even touch on the nutritional side. Actually, I remember my first inspiration ever was Dana Lynn Bailey, her old school videos back in 2012, 2013, when she was training for the Olympia, and that's what started me on bodybuilding. I think is just that whole strong woman, taking the reins and trying to go somewhere really really far and something that competitive. I loved it, and I actually one of my really good friends just started up as a trainer, and he was like, "Let me train you and see where we can go from there." So on top of powerlifting, I started bodybuilding, and that was in about 5 years ago. And it just kind of escalated from there, and I ended up exercise science at LSU. I worked with football program there, the NFL combine program, and I worked at SLU here in St. Louis as an internship. And then I, came back home and started my own business. So that's where it's gone from there. It's always been a part of my life. Not only is it my job, I mean, it's my lifestyle now too. I don't just train people and work with athletes or whatever, but, I'm always looking at new ways to train myself, to progress, both physically and mentally.
Absolutely. So when you were getting started working out, I always like to make the analogy that if you were to walk into a gym with 100 people in there, there'd be 100 different ways that people have gotten their results. 100 different ways when it comes to reps, when
Absolutely.
it comes to what you would lift, how you would do it, when it comes to nutrition. Was that hard for you starting out to find out what specifically worked best for you?
Absolutely. And I think the thing is there's not a right and a wrong way, really, when it comes down to it. Every trainer trains differently, every coach trains differently. And there's so many different ways to train. And, I think that's what's great about fitness, too, is like, yeah, at the beginning, you're kind of like, where do I go from here? And, there's always more to learn. You never have a settling point. You're always like, there's a new article to read on something, or a new development in technology, new development weights, machines, stuff like that. So it's a constant progressing thing. And it's just be open to learn is probably the best advice I can give anybody starting out is, be open and never think that you know too much, because even where I'm at now, I learn all the time. So that's the best thing about fitness, I think, is that you're always have that open and ability to learn.
Did you see when you were starting your journey, did your body adjust really really quickly, or was it more of a time, did it take more over time?
Well, when I was kind of underweight when I started, I was about 90 to 100 pounds. And, lifting weights, like when I started powerlifting, I really noticed a difference pretty quickly. And again, but that's, it's all in consistency. And it's harder when you're in college and school like that because there's so many other distractions. But I think the most progress I've seen is probably in the last 2 to 3 years when, I am, focused on training, but I have more of a flexible schedule. Um, but again, it just kind of depends on where you're starting at, whether you're starting at a little bit bigger, trying to lose weight and then build muscle after, or whatever. It kind of just depends on your consistency and your starting point. And for me, being underweight, it was a little bit easier for me to start putting on weight pretty quickly.
One of the things that people don't realize, and I love to point out, is that when you are putting on muscle, when you are putting on weight, you are going to need to
Yep.
eat a lot more than you had eaten previously as opposed to working out. I mean, even if you were overweight, what was that struggle like for you, knowing that you had to eat more? Was that just such a relief for you, or was that something that you really had to adjust to?
There's a misconception. It's not about eating everything. It's about eating exactly for what you're trying to do and eating the proper foods for it. For example, like if it fits your macros, I see that all the time. The problem is like the macros might be right, but what you're using to fill those macros has to be the appropriate things in order to get to your goal. Proper protein, the good carbohydrates, not refined stuff, and green vegetables and all that kind of stuff. So I already ate clean as it was. I was raised that way. My mom was super strict when I was young and an athlete, so it was pretty easy for me to like keep that lifestyle up and just eat more of it. What people don't understand is like when you're trying to put on good weight and you're trying to put on muscle and stuff, you need to have the adequate amount of protein. You need to have the right types of protein. You have the right type of carbs, stuff like that. It's not just about eating whatever just to gain weight. It's about eating properly. Um, so it was easy for me, but I understand, people are raised differently and they come from different backgrounds. So, I mean, the biggest, thing I can say is understand that macros are great, but making sure to understand why you're eating what you're eating and to eat the proper stuff for your goals is going to be key, not just eating whatever to gain weight.
Hmm. So, like you said, you were kind of already raised strict nutritionally. You already
Right.
had that
Yeah.
nutritional background. How big of an impact do you think that played on you? Because there are so many people that I
Oh
have on
man.
here that talk about, the nutrition was just a huge shock to their system. Do you really think that having that background really, really helped you when it came to adjusting to the whole new lifestyle?
Oh, absolutely. Because here's the thing, when we're growing up, you know, our parents' values are instilled in us, whether or not we recognize it or not. So for me, my dad's a little bit overweight now. He struggled with his weight and overeating, but I stayed with my mom when I was a kid, and she was totally active. I was allowed one snack a day. Everything was home cooked meals. I had very high protein diet. And my mom was very adamant about everything. And I think that makes a ginormous difference. And I'm not saying that kids shouldn't get to go have a burger at McDonald's once in a while or have a milkshake, whatever, but using it more, for an event or instead of using it as reward. The worst thing I see is kids and adults that use food as rewards, and it's probably like the worst thing you can teach somebody is using food as a reward, because then you start nitpicking little things. Oh, I had a good day, I'm gonna have this, you know what I mean? So it's important to start at an early age to understand what's good for your body and what's not, and I think that's definitely made an impact on how I'm able to keep this consistency over time, and I feel very, very lucky for that.
And when it comes to just being consistent, that's just one of the huge keys that I always love to stress on here. But when you were starting out, at what point did you finally say, like, hey, I want to maybe compete in a bodybuilding show? Is it, people sometimes it's always people that come up to you and just say, like, hey, you look great, you should compete. At what point was it in your journey where you were just like, hey, I might want to step on stage and, show off what I've done?
Well, when I was in college, my coach, my one of my buddies that just became a trainer, like I talked about, he kind of saw my progress and was like, let's just see what it is and see how you do. And I really wanted to do it because, I'd been an athlete, I'd had lots of challenges, I've always been competitive, and I wanted that extra push. And competing is not just dieting and training, it is such a higher level of that. And it's so much of a disciplinary thing. And I love I love mental challenges like that. And building mental strength through different challenges and obstacles in life. And I just really wanted to push my limits. And I got to tell you, every time I've competed, from 2014 my first show to now my last show 2018, yeah, I did nationals this year, was you get mentally stronger every single time. And that's how mental strength is. It's not just because people think that just because I'm a bodybuilder or whatever that I have this special gene or something that makes me mentally more strong and have more discipline than a normal person. That's absolutely not the case. It's strength built over time by these positive choices and these hard choices to do these challenging things. And then it just becomes more of an easier thing to make those decisions, and you build that hard mental strength to keep on a hard program like that. So I just wanted to be a mentally stronger person, and I think that that's why I chose this path. Um, and I absolutely feel 100% stronger this year just from coming from nationals and to bring on to my next show. So
What was your first prep like? Because I mean, like you said, you had already been eating healthy, but being on prep is a whole different monster. What was that
yeah.
experience like for you?
Wow, my first prep. Okay, well, honestly, I think back on it now, and I think back then I thought I was 100% on. I was doing great, and to be honest, I didn't. Like I kind of I wouldn't eat exactly the time I needed to. Water was kind of off, and I was distracted by other things. When you're that age, and I was, I think, let's see, 2014, I was 20, 21. I was distracted by other things, and your perception of it when you're in it and then your perception of it when you're out of it are two totally different things. And I think the most important perception is the after, because that's where you learn. and I learned I really didn't try as hard as I could. And the only thing I can do from that is take what I didn't do and make sure I do it the next time. It was tough though. It was definitely hard. Um, but preps have been so hard, much harder since then because I actually push it to a whole nother limit. But it definitely puts you into reality of what really hard work is and what persistency is, and it really throws you for a loop of how hard and how far you can truly push your body.
Mhm. So I always love to ask this question because I'm a naturally just a super pale person. What is that like the first time you put that tan on and see everything pop? I've always had everyone describe it's like you see muscles you never knew that you had. But what was that first
Oh
experience
yeah,
like for you when you put that tan on?
and you look like cinnamon toast. Yeah, no, the tan sucks to be honest. I mean, it's great. Like it really showcases everything, and especially if you don't tan during prep, it's hard to really see everything. That's why I try and tan a little bit during prep so you can get an idea of where you're at. But that tan sucks because first of all, you can't shower for like 2 days during the show, and then like it takes like 2 weeks, and it's like fades off, and it gets caught in your nails and everything. But I mean, it does really showcase the entire package. And it's pretty much where you really at the end of a 16 or between a 16 and 20 week prep really see how your body has evolved and changed. And it's probably the coolest part of it because everything pops, you can pose in the lighting, and it's pretty like self-fulfilling moment for sure.
Yeah. I have a lot of up and coming bands on as well as health and fitness people. And I love to ask them, what's that like the thrill of performing live on stage? And I think that that also applies to our health and fitness guests who've competed. What is that like for you when you get to walk on the stage to all these people that are cheering? You get to show off all those, months and months of hard work that you've done through prep. What is that feeling like for you specifically when you step on stage?
Probably the most self-fulfilling, and I would say like your progress and your success is completely based on your efforts. And it's not a team thing or whatever. It's personally about you and pushing yourself to a whole new limit. And it is by far the most rewarding thing. And it's crazy. People are like, you do all this crazy stuff for like 16 to 20 weeks and kill yourself and not go hang out with friends and not go out and do all this for 30 seconds. And you're like, yep, because that 30 seconds of reward, regardless of the placing, that 30 seconds of spotlight on you for your hard work and your persistence and your consistency is 100% worth that. Those struggles on leg day, the struggles early morning cardio, eating chicken and green beans every day of your life. And people that don't understand it, but you talk to another competitor and they do get it. So it's a very, very strong, rewarding feeling for sure.
Now, what has your experience been like wearing those high heels that they make you wear?
Me and heels, I walk in those heels like at home to make sure I didn't just eat it. And even when you're on stage, you're shaking like a leaf because you're so nervous and everything. I literally feel like Bambi on stilts, and it's terrible. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I always thought I was doing physique because you don't have to wear them, but I like aesthetic more anyway, so I just have to kind of live with it. But yeah, it is not my forte. These big, I have no. Even when I go out, I'm wearing Vans or something now at this point because I cannot stand heels at all. And I think it has to do with as you carry heavier weight based on like where your set weight is normally. Like I carry it a little bit heavier in off season, so it's just so rough on my ankles and my knees and stuff. So I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Oh yeah, I just can't believe they make you guys wear those things too. It's one of those stupid things where I just look at that and I'm like, haven't these girls already gone through enough with all the training and all the
Right.
dieting and everything like that? It's like you got to make them do one extra thing. What point in your journey did you decide that you wanted to open up, or like you said, start your own business and become a coach?
So one thing about me that a lot of people don't know is I actually struggled. I'm in recovery now. I struggled with addiction, drug addiction during college and into my first year graduating. And my coach in fitness really helped me get out of my rut. It helped me with not only getting my body back to where I wanted it to be, but my mental state, bringing up my own confidence, my self esteem, and feeling just completely content with myself, um, and showing and giving myself self value in myself. Because fitness not just is not for me. It's not about like yeah, I like looking better and I like making people look better. That's cool. That's fun. I like people performing better or whatever. But again, like it's a mental strength thing has just been a huge part of my life, and I love that. And fitness has helped me not only like achieve discipline. I've gotten more confidence from it, and I love the way I look. So I wanted to give that to other people, man. I mean, like, I use it so much in my recovery now. And, and that's why I work with a lot of special population. I work with a lot of girls with anxiety. I work with people with eating disorders and all this kind of stuff because I think not just medications and therapy, but self improvement in other ways, including fitness, is a great way to overcome those mental obstacles. And it's such a passion for me, and it's changed my life that I 100% wanted to give back as much as I could, and also do what I love. So it's my favorite. It's my favorite job. I absolutely love what I do, and I feel like it can really really help a lot of people.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And one of the big stereotypes and misconceptions that we love to bust on this show is there. It's gotten a lot better, I'd say, with Instagram, but women still have this fear that if they touch one weight, they're gonna Hulk out and just become Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Have you dealt with that fear as a personal trainer with women coming up to you, and how do you deal with that when they say that?
I've been training so hard, eating ridiculous amounts of calories, training as hard as I can for 5 years, and this is where I'm at now. I mean, because that's my goal. You know what I mean? But the only way lifting weights like that and crazy stuff like that's going to happen is if you really push for that look.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of women come to me and just want to, get a little bit of muscle mass and shape their body. Don't use the word toned because it's not a thing. Can't tone a muscle. It's not a thing. To shape your body, to give it overall shape, you got to eat, it's an overarching thing. It doesn't happen overnight. I didn't just squat yesterday and now I have 15-inch legs. It doesn't work that way. They're so misconstrued by it. They see these Instagram girls and they're just like, oh my God, I don't want to look like that or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but they've worked years and years and years to get to that particular goal. Mm. And, that's why I tell them it's like lifting efficiently for your goals and eating proper calories is what dictates what you will turn into. Not, I just eat 3,500 calories and lift crazy heavy because I want to be bigger. Mm-hmm. But that's the way you get big, not,
I always tell the story. There was a friend of mine in college. I'd started working out a lot in college. That's when I really started adapting. And then she would always say, I really wish I could come to the gym with you, but I'm just too afraid. Like, I don't want to get so big and bulky. And then I finally one day I just told her, listen, the purse that you carry when we go out to like clubs or we go out to get something to eat weighs more than a lot of those dumbbells in that gym. And you're not getting bigger from carrying that thing around. So Then she finally got convinced and came in. And it's one of those things where I just think as soon as you get in there and as soon as you start and realize, like, oh, hey, I'm not getting huge just from that. That's really the one thing that helps. But another big misconception is that everyone just thinks that there's these big 400-pound guys in there that'll just be super intimidating and just that they'll be really hard to work out in front of. But I always tell everyone for that too, people don't realize that when you're in the gym, 99.9% of people in the gym could care less that you even exist because they're too busy being focused on what they're doing. So It's one of those things where just getting in there, that's just the biggest thing right there.
Right, and the gym is like any other place in the world, okay? Mm-hmm. There's going to be arrogant people. There's going to be people that hate. There's going to be people doing goofy stuff or whatever. But the biggest thing is, don't judge anybody based on what they're doing, what you're in, or what anyone else around you is doing or anything like that. You want to be treated a certain way in the gym, you treat people the same way, and that's what I tell people, with gym etiquette and everything. I'm like, treat people in the gym how you want to be treated in the gym. And stay focused on you, and you'd be surprised how many people are really open to because a lot of my friends that I've met, all of my friends I've met in the gym. It's a pretty open community thing, so there's no intimidation by that. And honestly, the 400-pound guys, the big lifting bodybuilders,
some of the nicest guys ever.
Yeah, you come up to them and talk to them, and they love to talk about fitness. It's their life, it's their passion. Just like if someone comes up to me, I'm 100% open to talking about my stuff. So it's people just, they get so intimidated of it and they're scared of it. But like, if you treat people with respect in the gym and you come up and say, oh man, you're looking good, or, help spotting somebody or whatever, that etiquette's going to spread and it's not going to be a bad thing. But again, just be realistic in the idea of like, it's just like any other place in the world or any, outside thing is that there's going to be arrogant people. There's going to be dumb, rude people that say mean stuff in the gym or whatever. And that just is what it is, and you just let it roll off your shoulder, no matter what.
We just got to thank God that we don't live on the East Coast with all the Guidos.
I'm from St. Louis, man. We got We got meatheads everywhere, and chains and faux hawks and all that, which is crazy. And people think the St. Louis, Missouri, really. I'm like, and it's actually a huge thing here in St. Louis is bodybuilding. I think that's because we have First Form is based out of
Mhm.
here, Andy Frizella's company, and you have Supplement Superstore here. A lot of the Midwest shows are here. We have a lot of big time IFBB pros here, so we're Meathead Central, which is really cool. We have House of Pain, and the House of
Oh,
Pain
yep.
just opened up here a couple months ago. Actually, I think it's about a year ago now. A year, yeah. So we're the real deal here. So to go from when I travel a lot for what I do, so to go see, yeah, like the East Side has tons of it too. I go down to Florida, it's totally different aesthetic. The gym communities are different everywhere
Mhm.
too, which I think is so cool about traveling is, you get to see different types of fitness communities and what everyone's passionate about. And I love that when I travel too. So yeah, just kind of, people be surprised it's here, but it's actually huge here in the Midwest.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like I always like to say, since we live in the Midwest, staying up here in Minnesota is you only got to look good 6 months out of the year because the other 6 months you're going to be in sweaters anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But what are some ways that you use personally to stay motivated during the winter when it can get to, be like 0 degrees outside or it can get to be really, really snowy? What do you use as motivation to still get out and go to the gym when your body's just telling you, like, hey, it's time to hunker down and just watch some Netflix?
um, I'm structured,
Mhm.
and I think structure is huge. Planning the gym, not like it's a hobby or an option, but like it's an appointment.
Mhm.
For example, like writing my schedule, I'm gonna do. That's why I train I plan my training splits. That I have a set time that I know that I'm gonna go every day. And building that discipline and structure and planning is huge because if you like fail to plan, like plan to fail. Seriously. And I love that saying. I know it's so cliche or whatever, but I absolutely love it because it's so true. Like if you don't make a 100% plan to do something, then there's an option to not do it. And for me, like again, I consider myself non-human when it comes to gym motivation. I mean, I literally, if I don't go, I have like anxiety about it. It's because I want to be an IFBB pro next year, and I have like these huge goals and things I want to work on for when I get on stage, and like I want to stay leaner because I need to lean down far more in this area, stuff like that. So I mean, I'm a little different of a person, but I tell my clients all the time too. I'm like, what feels better at the end of the day when you wake up the next morning that you went to the gym the night before or that you sat and watched TV? Do you feel more self-fulfilled when you wake up the next day being and doing a productive action rather than a lazy or regressive action? So it just again, it's all about feeling, and it's all about I tell people it's about how you feel about yourself. It's not just a scale, it's not anything else. It's about how you feel at the end of the day, and that should keep you motivated. Because feelings last a lot longer than a digital scale number lasts. It lasts an hour or two, and it's already different. What doesn't change is feelings, and as long as you are consistent on what you do, that feeling will always stay there. So, that's what I tell them. Focus on the feeling you have when you do good, and that should keep you motivated through it.
What is the number one excuse that you usually hear from clients as opposed to why they won't adapt a healthy, fit lifestyle? I mean, time is a huge one that we hear. Is that probably your
Oh,
biggest
I
one?
hate that.
Yep.
Hate that. I hate that excuse
Mm-hmm.
more than anything in the world. I'll tell you why. And because people think, again, because I'm a bodybuilder and I'm fitness, that I have more hours in a day than they do. I don't. I have the exact same 24 hours. My utilization and my efficiency of using my time is just better than yours. And that just it sparks a lot in people. And I tell people, that's why whenever I do like client spotlights and stuff, I tell the outside world about their life in general to help them relate. So, for example, I have these two clients in Louisiana. Okay. These two clients in Louisiana, they're online clients. They're really good friends of mine, Brandy and Nathan. They're a couple. They started out with me, never been in a gym before, ever. Nathan worked with somebody else for a little bit before he came on my team. But both of them never been in the gym before ever, ate fast food every day. They have 3 kids. They both work full-time jobs, and they live in a little bitty town in Spring Hill, Louisiana. They have one gym, and it's about the size of my house, which is about, I don't know, 1,200 square feet. Oh, it's so tiny. Like, it's barely anything. They don't have a ton of resources. They have one Walmart. My phone didn't even work there when I went there. And they both have lost a combination of probably, let's see, Brandy lost about almost 70 pounds, and Nathan's lost, I think, about 100. And they're both looking to compete this year. And they make no excuses. They train 5 days a week. They all go that cardio 4 days a week. They eat the same thing every day, meal prep all the time. And they're really serious about it, and they have all that going on. Mm-hmm. So, and another excuse that I absolutely hate with people is this thing about food. Well, I can't eat the same thing every day. I go, okay. So your body works on consistency, okay? And if you throw different stuff at it all the time, it's going to get confused and never get on a pattern. And people say that word can't. They won't even try the word try. And words are really, really, really important in vocabulary when in fitness. Putting a can't on something literally means that you literally are unable to do something. Mm-hmm. It's the won't. And some people have that dedication to do it, and some people just don't. But you are the one that decides whether or not you can do something. That self-willpower is 100% based on your efforts. And, you don't have to eat the same exact thing every day. I mean, bodybuilders, I get that's a little bit more intense, but being consistent on your macros, consistent on food is more important than just eating the exact same thing every day. It's not about eating chicken and rice every single meal. It's about being consistent and being persistent on something, and having that perseverance with food. And that's another thing I absolutely cannot say. And I cannot eat the same thing every day. But you have to have some sort of consistency in order to go somewhere in fitness. There has to be a consistent measure. There has to be control. And that control is nutrition, 150%. So making excuses of time, you got to make time for it. You have to plan it out. In nutrition, you have to plan to be consistent and understand that consistency needs to be in your food, 150%. Food will always be there. Bad food will always be there. Drinks will always be there. What's not going to always be there is that time when your body is capable and able to do that adaptation to where you want it to be.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And now we go to our audience favorite portion of the podcast, a little questionnaire that we like to do where I'll ask Delaney here about a dozen or so questions. We'll get her answers and see how she stacks up to everyone else. So for our first question, what is your go-to workout song right now at the moment?
Ooh, I like weird stuff. Like, it just depends on my mood, I think. Like, if I'm, like, mad or it's leg day, it's, like, heavy metal, dubstep, heavy metal combos, stuff like that. Or sometimes, like, if I'm just doing, like, arms or chest, I do more, like, hip-hop, kind of R&B stuff. But right now, I like I Prevail. I like my favorite song ever right now is, I like Fame on Fire. It's a good band. I also, Ashes to New is a really good band too, and they're pretty good. Forgotten is one of their songs I like. I really like off the wall, crazy heavy metal, kind of combined with techno kind of band stuff like that. I'm kind of like weird stuff like that, but anything that's super like intense and high, that's what I like normally.
Yeah, for me personally, I'm also the heavy metal kind of guy. Like last night I was doing back and I had to have my Metallica and my Iron Maiden playing when I was going on. You gotta wait for the beat to drop though too. So like if I was doing lat pull downs, you gotta wait for the beat to drop so that you can get the proper like intense rush so that you can time it perfectly. Yeah. That's the only bad thing. But now if you could work out with any celebrity on the planet, who would it be?
Who would I love to work out with? Oh, CT Fletcher.
Yep.
100%. And, and again, people are like, oh, he's so motivating. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, he has just such this awesome, deep, rich life story. And I watched his documentary. I don't know if it was on Netflix or if it was on Hulu. I forgot. But I watched that. And then he just went through all of this crazy struggles with his health and, family's issues. And when he tried to open the gym that he opened up, he had so many struggles with that too. What is it? I cannot think of it right
Iron
now.
Fire, is it?
It's Iron something. Iron Legend, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Iron something. But yeah, like I love his story and everything like that. And that would just be an amazing, mind-blowing experience for me for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying CT Fletcher because you're probably like our 26th health and fitness guest. 23 of the answers have been The Rock. Everyone just says The Rock, The Rock, The Rock. That's by far our most popular answer. I mean, The Rock is a beast, but we love to have a little variety on the show. But now, mixing up a little bit, if you could train any celebrity on the planet, who would it be?
Kevin Hart.
Yes. Yes.
And the reason I say that is because he always posts stuff about fitness and everything. Yep. He's trained with The Rock before. And, I just feel like it would be like an amazingly fun session. You
Oh,
know what I mean? And that's why I love, like, as a trainer, when you have clients that are just a hoot, have a great sense of humor. I have
mhm,
one right now that I literally just, I love coming to work because she's just so much fun to be around, and
mhm.
it makes me want to push them even farther. When you have an open personality with your trainer, it makes the whole experience better. So I would absolutely love that because he's also one of my favorite comedians.
Mhm.
And he's great. So
That is
that
my
would be
personal
awesome.
choice by far, and that's like the fourth time that we've heard that. But here's the only problem: is that it would be so funny that you wouldn't be able to get a workout in. I don't think. I mean, it would just be one huge comedy set, but like you'd get a hell of an ab workout.
Yeah, for sure.
So now moving on, what is one item that you always need to have in your fridge?
Oh, probably Powerade Zeros. Love those. Drink those all the time. And probably, I mean, eggs. Yeah.
All right, absolutely. So, what is one thing that people who follow you on Instagram would be surprised to know about you if they met you in person?
How goofy I am. Because my Instagram's kind of pretty serious, and I want to work on that. I want to more show like my personality. Like people think I'm just super intense and like just about working. I'm like, I am literally like a minion from Despicable Me, like in real life. Like I'm just a total goofball. I think a lot of people, unless they like really read in depth of everything, again about my past and everything about being in recovery and struggling with addiction and everything like that. That's a great story. I love to tell people when they do meet me and they want to talk about stuff is you know where I've been now to where I'm at. You even kind of see it on my Instagram as time goes on, but it's definitely two of the biggest things that people are like, oh really? I'm like, yeah. And then I do a goofy voice at them. They're like, oh me. I'm like, yeah, I'm like a cartoon character. um but yeah, that's probably the two biggest things.
Yeah. So, what was the last TV show that you binge watched?
Shameless.
Ooh.
And I loved it a lot because I know a lot of people watch that show. But the reason people really, really love it is because, it's such a relatable thing. Like there's so many different like families and lifestyles in it. And being from St. Louis where there's, a lot of different areas where it's kind of more like farm country and, you got some redneck areas and all that kind of stuff. Like it's just like it's such a relatable show and, constant action and there's just the craziest outlandish stuff happens and it just keeps you on your toes and it's very very like very interesting.
What is your favorite TV show of all time?
Oh man, I guess I have two of them. I love Sons of Anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
That was fabulous, but I think my all-time favorites, and it's just so like cliche, is The Office. I still watch it. I'm in college. I watched the series probably 7 times.
Yep.
So that's my classic, like go to, like put it in the background kind of show. Because honestly, I think Steve Carell's character actually was defined as one of the best developed characters of all time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. Now, what is a guilty pleasure movie you enjoy?
A guilty pleasure movie. What does guilty pleasure really mean?
Kind of like a movie where you wouldn't admit to friends that you watch it, but you kind of like secretly deep down love it.
Ooh. Well, I would tell my friends because they know who I am, I guess. But I mean, I love like old school Disney cartoon movies. It's just great. Like, if you ever have a bad day or like you're upset, there is nothing that can get that. If you watch a Disney movie or like a cartoon movie like Despicable Me or Shrek or whatever it is, watch that and not smile, then you're like son of Satan. I don't know who you are because it literally like totally change your day around and those are my kind of movies. But like Despicable Me is a great one for me. Finding Nemo, Monsters Incorporated, that kind of stuff. Like I love that kind of stuff. I'm a kid at heart.
For me, it's The Princess Bride. It's a movie that I'll never really admit to a lot of people, but I secretly deep down just love it.
Oh, I love that movie too. It's a great one.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely,
great one.
Absolutely. So, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Now I'm hungry. My favorite flavor of ice cream. I like Reese's a lot. I like Reese's everything. So probably like Reese's ice cream is probably my vibe, if I'm gonna be honest. Anything with chocolate and peanut butter in it, I'm good for sure.
You get me a cookie dough blizzard from DQ, and I will do anything. That's
God, I want a Blizzard from Dairy Queen so bad. I used to eat those all in like high school. Those used to be my thing. I haven't had one of those in a long, long time.
I limit myself to once a month for that, except during the summer I go like once every 2 weeks and get a Blizzard, just as my reward treat for a health, for if I work out and I stay clean for that period. That's my little tiny rewards, which I recommend everyone just has a little bit of rewards out there. I mean, you can't starve yourself completely from that. I mean, it's like, it's one of those things where I kind of need to have it every once in a while. But here's where we get real interesting. What is one item that you would die to have if it went up for auction?
Wow. Okay. Ooh. Okay, I'm totally nerding out. Like one of the lightsabers that was used in the Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I would. Wow, that was a total nerd alert. But that's for real. I'm a Star Wars fiend. Okay, I
Me
love
too.
that.
Me too.
And yeah, I would die for like to have Darth Vader's lightsaber. Go up. Woo!
Ooh.
That might be a day spending money.
Oh,
Sure.
absolutely, absolutely. So, what is your new opinion on the new trilogy that they've been working on? What are your opinion on those movies?
Oh, I don't like it.
Me neither.
I'm such an old school classic
Mm-hmm.
chick. I love the old school movies and the old school graphics because it was such a big deal back then.
Mm-hmm.
And now these movies come out and their graphics are insane, but no one here appreciates it as much. Appreciation for the movies isn't near what it was for those old school movies. And I just think the storyline's getting all thrown apart because the same characters aren't involved in it as much now. They were in the first one or two of them, but like it's just the appreciation for the development of the story is not there anymore, and now they're trying to make it funny. Star Wars is not funny.
That's okay. Thank you so much for saying that. I almost no. Okay, so in the Last Jedi, I went and saw it with my little brother. I almost walked out of the theater during that first scene when he was doing like the "Your Mama" prank call on the guy when he was flying up. I almost told I said to my little brother, I was like, if it's gonna be like this, we're leaving. And then my little brother was like, yeah, we'll do it. It's gotten ridiculous. Yeah, the Last Jedi.
It's not like
Yeah.
they have a few humorous points. Like
Mhm.
they have humor like in the back. Like for example, like when Chewbacca would make his funny noise.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
whatever. That's kind of like whatever.
Mhm.
But it's not funny. Like it's not like it's not. And C-3PO had a few funny like subtle jokes here and there, but it's not a funny movie.
I
Like
know.
it's not. I understand like comedy sells in theaters. I get it, but that's not what Star Wars is. And if you make Star Wars what it's meant to be and develop the story like it was back in the day and have, similar storylines that people can relate to from the old movies, then that's what you're going to bring your audience because there's enough audience for Star Wars, trust me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just, oh my God, I watched that one. I was like, this is not fun. This is not funny. I'm not supposed to laugh at Star Wars. I'm supposed to be amazed by how freaking cool it is.
Couldn't agree more. And everyone that we've had on that's also been a Star Wars fan said the same thing. So I really, Disney, get your shit together, take some notes. We gotta fix this mess.
Yeah.
Apps, 100% couldn't agree more. Now, what is your spirit animal?
A sloth.
Ooh, yes.
Here's why. Because, I love how like just chill and relaxed they are, and they're just so like it's just the most interesting animal that everyone just kind of is drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
And even they have these baby sloths. I don't know what they're called, but I actually bought a shirt from the mall. That's like a sleepy sloth that carries bananas, like his healthy food, but he's dreaming about pizza. And I literally bought that shirt, and it is my leg day shirt, and it is pretty great. And it literally made me like, this is my spirit animal because he's eating healthy, but he's thinking about pizza. So that is me. But yeah, for sure, I love sloths. They're cool.
For me, I am just the biggest dog lover of all time. For me, so like a wolf, anything like that in the dog breed, for me that would be. I mean, if I could have chosen a different path, I'd probably end up being like the next dog whisperer. That's probably what I would do. Just doing that stuff, just because you get a dog. I'm one of those people where if you invite me to your house and you have a dog, I'm sorry, but like 95% of my attention is gonna be focused on that dog, and I'll like hear what you're saying in the background, but I'll be like, oh hey buddy, how's it going? So yeah, that's why I always give a warning to people if they have dogs. It's like just to let you know, if that dog is friendly, I'm going to be spending a lot of my time with that dog. So
right.
Absolutely 100%. Now, what is one thing that you could change about the sport of bodybuilding if you had the all-seeing power to do so?
Social media, 100%. Just get rid of it. Like, I mean, it destroys the whole. It's sexualized bodybuilding.
Yep.
And I hate. Like, I post on it all the time. It's for my business, and I like getting my name out there and saying what I want to say. But it sexualizes the whole thing, and everyone people that get all these followers on Instagram, wherever, they think they're these big top names in bodybuilding. They take away from the idea of the competition and what it really means to be successful in bodybuilding. Being successful in bodybuilding is not posting on Instagram of, your gains in your butt pants. I'm not saying that I haven't taken pictures of my glutes in a picture. I'm not saying that. And I have, posted progress pictures or whatever, but it takes away from the whole concept of staying in the gym and grinding with your headphones on and hood up and just grinding hard. And it takes away from that because you got to take a break, take a picture. And I have to even engage in it. It sucks. I wish they would just take away the whole social media thing so you can focus on what bodybuilding was built around. And that's is creating an aesthetic physique that's pleasing to the eye and, hitting every muscle exactly where it needs to be hit, and stop focusing so much on this sexual idolization of bodybuilding. I hate it. It drives me nuts.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I've come to find since I've interviewed all these bodybuilders, and that's one of the things that I never realized was a thing, and that's, definitely, you got to make sure that you can keep it, and plus to make it safe, because some of these, all the weird messages that I've heard people sometimes get or stuff like that.
All the time.
Oh my God. Yeah, honestly, I would never be able to deal with that. I would have probably shut off my account where I was like, dude, just come on, really? So yeah, what you girls go through, especially the girls, because guys, it's a different story, but with girls, what you guys go through, it's ridiculous, and it's just, I just don't even really want to even get into that just because it's just a whole thing. But moving on now, one of the things that I love to especially talk about, because not that many people talk about on social media or on Instagram when it comes to your health and fitness, is sleep. Sleep is a huge thing. When it comes to recovery, it's probably the biggest, and no one really makes posts about it. No one really talks about it, but I did have a sleep specialist on that I highly recommend everyone go and check out that episode. It was really, really cool. But when it comes to sleep, what is your average amount of sleep that you get, and what do you recommend for clients when it comes to sleep?
Always 7 to 8 hours, man. Because the thing is, not only with sleep is it good for recovery and your growth hormone elevates, and you start healing your body, is your cortisol levels. For an extended period of time, if you don't get a proper amount of sleep, your cortisol level raises. You are unable to burn fat as efficiently, and your adrenal gland's going to have issues. You'll start pounding caffeine. Your workouts won't be near as good. It's not just about the chemical imbalances that'll happen in your brain, but also about your overall efforts in fitness with it. So, yeah, it's definitely a high priority thing. Definitely.
All right, so we got 2 questions left here on the questionnaire. The first is, if someone were to walk up to you on the street and say, obviously, wow, you look amazing, I want to look like that, or I want to get into health and fitness, what would be your best piece of advice to that person in order to, when they transition to health and fitness, to be successful in it?
To really develop a really good plan, and that means hiring somebody. Hire somebody that you trust, that has a similar physique and training, methods that you would like to engage in, and come up with a sound structure. The more structured, and again, I emphasize this, the planning and the structure of your program is going to be the biggest thing. And just making sure that you mentally are ready to commit. 100%. Don't mentally commit 75% because you still want to go drink. Nope. You got to commit 150% to it, because that's how you're going to achieve your goals as fast as possible and not get that lackadaisical, I'm never going to get there attitude.
So for our final question, if you were able to go back and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give her?
Wow, that's a really good question for me, actually, because that's around the time where I started with my drug addiction. And I would probably say that, the pain is temporary, and to overcome it, you need to really take care of yourself mentally. And that mental strength can be rebuilt. And that, using fitness can 100% do that. Because I was engaged in fitness at the time. It just wasn't as a high priority as it is for me now. So being able to go back and being like, look at fitness and look what it can do for you. And I've experienced something that people probably not everyone gets to experience in their life. And I get to relate to a lot of people that many people can't. So, I would go back and tell her to not go that path and look at more what fitness is able to do for your mental state. But, at the end of the day, I don't regret anything. So,
Absolutely, yeah, and I appreciate you for answering it. And now, so when it comes down to people getting a hold of you, contacting you, other than Instagram, are there other ways that people can get a hold of you? Like if they want to get some of your online training, if they see this and they get inspired, where can they get a hold of you?
So my email is D as in dog, and then next level training at gmail.com. And that's the best way to get a hold of me other than Instagram. Instagram's probably the best to DM me. I'll get it pretty quickly. I check my email about once or twice a day. So, yeah, either Instagram or email, one or the other.
All right, yeah, and we'll leave links all down for everything down below. And what is your personal training company? Is it the shirt that you're wearing too?
D's Bodies.
Oh, D's Bodies. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I was gonna say that's a great name to think of, and it comes perfectly with your name. So it's genius. It's genius. How did you get the copyright for that? Because you'd think that if people were doing copyrights, that would be one of the first things that would get knocked up.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's funny. I remember sitting there, and I'm a goofy person. Like, I didn't want to be like Delaney Training Incorporated. Like, it's just not. It's weird, and it's just so intense. And I wanted something that people have been look at and kind of get a giggle out of, because that's just who I am. So, you know, that video went around with the D's, whatever. So I thought about it, and I was like, well, my name's D, and it's D's Bodies. I'm like, oh, that's funny. And then I added the little Z's on the end just to give a little swag, you know. So. It just really defines me as a person just in the name of it, and also says what I do. So I love it.
I also thought when I first saw you and I saw that it was Delaney Smallwood, I was like, oh my god, does that motivate her also to get to the gym with the last name Smallwood? Was that one of those things where you're trying to sort of make up for that?
You know what sucks too is like I get shit for my last name more than my dad does, and that doesn't make sense. He's the guy and I'm the girl. Like, okay, fine, but yeah, it's all right.
Oh my god, I completely forgot to ask my two famous questions. I mean, I'd probably get shit from everyone if I didn't ask these questions because everyone loves to hear the answers. But for the first one of the things that I found when I really started working out in college and, you know, getting bigger and putting on muscle was one of the unfortunate things that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars. You're going to get asked to do a lot of things by a lot of people. Has that happened to you, and how do you deal with that?
More like people think that I can like fight someone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. I just look like it. I think it also has to do with the tattoos and the shaved head and all that. Like, I think that's more what I've been asked. Like, all right, come with me. Like, you know, or we're at a bar or something.
UFC Fight Club. Let's go.
No, I'm like, I can't. I don't know how to fight. I'll just look like I can. But if they come at me with nunchucks or something, I'm done. Like, I mean, nothing I can do. You know, but of course, like my dad will ask me to move stuff. Pretty simple. But I mean, like. Again, I'm a chick too, so it's a little different. Like I'm not asked to like move crazy. No. Plus, I have nails. I'm not breaking a nail.
I was gonna ask too. That's not my next question, but when it comes to lifting weights, how difficult is it with those long nails? Because sometimes if I forget to clip my nails after a while, it just becomes a bitch and a half to lift weights. How do you deal with that?
Oh, I have no issues. I literally have no issues lifting weights with them. I've literally had them on for 2 years straight, and it just makes my hands look prettier because I have crazy calluses. They're really, really bad. Yeah. So I don't like having man hands, but I literally have no issues. I don't poke me, nothing.
And lastly, one of the things that people don't talk about, I think a lot is, and I say it's $1 million idea if anyone out there is coming up with an idea, this one is, but women who lift weights and get really, really muscular or put on size, they don't make a lot of clothes for you to wear. You have very limited clothing options. How do you sort of compensate for that?
So the biggest thing is jeans. Okay, I don't wear jeans. It's not a thing because my waist is small, but my legs are big. My glutes are bigger. So like, but you know what's crazy is I always were like, oh man, I have to buy this like 200 pair of barbell jeans or whatever that are made for fit people. But actually, I found jeans at Forever 21 that fit, that are exactly what I want. I just have to buy stretchier clothes. And as a bodybuilder, you know, I know everyone can relate to this. You have an in-season and an off-season wardrobe, so you don't ever throw anything away or like give something away because you're probably going to fit into it at some point in the year. So, you know, it is what it is, which is kind of nice. I don't have to like keep buying stuff. I always just separate them based on what season I'm in. But yeah, no, it's not a big deal. Just the biggest deal is jeans for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing that we've heard of a lot. And again, you guys, Delaney Smallwood, we highly recommend that you go and check her out. We'll leave links down below for everything on Instagram. If you want to get in touch with her for online training or personal training, if you live in the St. Louis area, we highly recommend that you go ahead and get contact with her. We'll leave all the links below. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up here?
Just my coach. If you guys are looking for someone that's like super knowledgeable too, Tim John. His Instagram is at TimJohn88. Another great person to look at. And also go check out at House of Pain Gym. It's a great gym to look at. Pretty dope equipment and stuff like that. And we have a couple awesome IFBB pros here in St. Louis. Mitch Stats is one. Kevin Jordan. Stacy Bujarski. Nadia Wyatt. Some great pros to go look at their pages. Nadia White just got third at the Figure Olympia, which is awesome for her. So yeah, we have a lot of great pros here, so go check them out.
Yeah, I'll definitely leave links to all that stuff down below. And again, you guys, Delaney Smallwood, we cannot thank her enough for coming on the show. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.